Good morning, guys. All right, so our homework for this week, I'm going to go over it now. And so the first question says Carlos had $45.20 in his wallet. He spent $18.75 on groceries. How much money does he have left? So this would be the amount that he has, and then if he's spending money, then I know that that's going to take away from his starting value. So I set it up like this. So I said, Carlos, here's what he has, here's what he spent. So this remaining amount is what he has left. And so this is, I'm starting with the total. I'm taking away one of the parts, and that's going to give me the missing part. So when I subtract, it looks like this. So after spending $18.75 on groceries, Carlos will have $26.45 left. All right, the next one is rounding to the nearest tenth. So when we do that, we're going to take our number 8 and 476 thousandths. We find that tenths place. It's right next to the decimal. We go to the right. If this is 5 or more, we're going to go up to the next tenth. It's closer to the 5 tenths than it is the 4 tenths if I thought about this on a number line. So I would have 8 and 5 tenths. All right, on the next one, we have a concert hall, and it has 218 seats in each row, and there are 32 of those rows. So how many seats are in the whole concert hall? So I kind of just drew this out to just think about what this would look like. So here's one row, and it says that each row has 218 seats. So that row would have that. The next row would have 218 seats. The next row would have 18 seats. There's going to be 32 of those if I kept going. So I could add up 218 plus 218, but that would take me forever. So I could also do, I recognize that that's that repeated addition. So in order to find the total number of seats, we will multiply 218 times 32. I did that there. And then there are a total of 6,976 seats in the whole concert hall. All right, Tuesday, that's Monday. On Tuesday, we have a classroom floor measures 15 feet by 10 feet. What's the area of the classroom floor? So if you're not given the shape, go ahead and draw it out and label it. So we've got 15 feet by 10 feet. Area is, we're trying to find this area inside the shape. So the formula for area is area equals length times width. So then I bring that down and I start filling out what I do know. I know the length and I know the width, so I filled out my 15 and my 10, and when I multiply those together, I get 150. All right, next, which decimal is the greatest? So this already has it lined up for you, but I went ahead and wrote it out. When I compare all the ones column, I notice that they're all the same. So I keep going. In my tenths column, I can stop and compare because these numbers are different. And if I'm looking for the greatest, I see that this number here has 7 tenths. And so that one's going to be my greatest because 7 tenths is larger than the 2 tenths and the 0 tenths. 7 is the greatest. So I can stop there and I've got my answer. All right, next we have Jason. Jason has 2,947 marbles. He gives 1,179 to his cousin. So about how many marbles does Jason have left? And we're using estimation to subtract. So here, if he has this many marbles, that's about 3,000. If he has this many that he's giving away, that's about 1,000. So I just rounded to the nearest 1,000 on each of those. And then, so I said if he has 3,000 and he gives away around 1,000, then he'd have about 2,000 left. All right, Wednesday. So that was Tuesday. All right, for Wednesday, we are writing this decimal in expanded notation. So for expanded notation, we need to know the value of each of the digits. So this isn't just a 7, it's a 7 in the ones place. So 7 times 1 will give me that value. The 4, I'm going to take the 4 and multiply it by 1/10 because it's in the tenths place. The 8, I'm going to multiply it by 100th to make it 800ths. And the 3, I'm going to multiply it by 1,000th because it is in the thousandths place. All right, next one, we are rounding each of these numbers to the nearest tenth, hundredth, and whole number. So on this one, I found the tenths place. On this one, I found the hundredth place. And in this one, I found that nearest whole number. And then when I looked next door on each of them, that's what helps me know whether I'm going to round up to the next, whether it's tenth, hundredth, or whole number, or if I'm going to leave it the same. So here on the 10th, this one had a 5, so I bumped that 0 up, and I've got 1.1. On this one, the 6 is in the hundredths. I go next door, that 4 is going to tell me to leave it the same, so 8.96. And then here, the nearest whole number, there's a 4 next door, so I'm going to leave it at a 10. All right, next one, you're solving this expression, and then it asks what the parentheses and brackets tell you to do first. So anytime you have parentheses, brackets, any kind of grouping, you always do that first. So whatever is in those parentheses or brackets, you work on that first before you do any of the other operations. So anytime you're working on these expressions, write out GEMDAS. So we put the groups on top, then we have exponents, and then next door to each other we have multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So these are side by side because we work left to right on those. All right, so this one, I've got 6 plus 2 times 3 minus 4. So I notice that this here is in a bracket. So I'm going to do what's in here first. So I'm going to focus on just this piece. And within that piece, if I looked at just this part here, I notice that there are parentheses, so I'm going to do that first. So my step 1 is going to be to multiply. So 2 times 3 is 6, so I brought down that 6. Everything that I didn't use, I also brought straight down. And so the 6 comes down, the minus 4 comes down, so 6 plus 6 minus 4. So I still have these brackets, so my next step is going to be to add. I'm still working on my groups. So when I add that, I get 12. I bring down the minus 4. 12 minus 4 is 8. All right, and then I already talked about that. All right, Thursday. Thursday, again, we're simplifying this. We have 15 divided by 3 plus 6 times 2. So here again, I've got to do my groups, and if you've already drawn it once, you can just use the same thing. So groups are on top, so we're going to always do groups first. So here I've got 2 groups, so 15 divided by 3 is 5, and then I just brought everything down. So if you've got 2 sets, just work left to right. So I brought that down and then carried down everything I haven't used. So then I still have groups. So again, my first step was to divide. My second step is going to be to multiply to be able to work in that group. And then 6 times 2 is 12, so I'll bring everything else down. And then my third step is going to be to add. So 5 and 12 is 17. All right, then what are we on Thursday? All right, we've got another concert hall. And this one has 125 seats in each row. And then for this one, there's 6 rows. So I'm going to pause there. I went ahead and made that right here. So I've got a concert hall with 125 seats in each row. And there's 6 of those. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on the 6th row, it says 70, or not specifically the 6th row, that's just where I put it. it says if 75 people are already seated, how many more people can be seated? So I went ahead and took out that 75. So there's 50 more people in this row that could technically be seated. In this row, there's still 125, 125, 125, 125, and 125. And so it says that we need to write an equation to represent the situation. It doesn't want an answer. It just wants you to write out the equation, kind of like here, or one of like something like this. And so for me, it's just easier if I go ahead and solve it, and then I just write down what I did to solve it. That helps me kind of work. I just kind of work backwards. So I went ahead and thought, okay, I know I've got 5 sets of 125, so I went ahead and multiplied that, and then I added that 50 that were left in that last row, because that's how many seats were there, that could still be, or people could still sit there. So then after I did what I did, then I came over here and wrote it out. So the very first thing I did was I took 125 and I multiplied it by 5. So I grouped that together since that was together. And then after that, the way I got the 50 was doing 125 minus 75. So I did that. And then once I got that answer, the 50, I added it. So this right here is going to give me the 625, and then I added it to the 50. Another way you could do it is saying, just not doing this minus 75, just doing 125 times 6, and then once you get that answer, then you take away 75 that have already, those 75 that have already been seated. Because if we're trying to find out how many people can still be seated, I don't want to count the people that are already seated. I want to take those out of the mix. All right, next one. We have a shipment of juice that contains 826 and 4/10, and we are dividing this, so we're going to take this amount and we're going to divide it into 28 equal barrels. So when you're dividing something, you're taking your total, so this is how much we have, and we're breaking it apart into groups of 24 in this case. And so we're trying to figure out, okay, if we take this, a little bit goes into this barrel, a little bit goes into this barrel, a little bit goes into this barrel, how much juice is going to be in each barrel? So we are dividing by 28. All right, so this one got a little messy, and I should have grabbed some more paper, but that's all right. All right, so if we're dividing by 28, I don't know off the top of my head how to skip count by 28. So I came over here and I wrote out my groups. And in order to get the groups, I'm just adding 28 each time. So one group would be 28. If I add another group, now I've got 56. I add another group, and so on, all the way down. And then now I set up to divide. So I've got my 8 to 6.4. I put things in boxes as a short division, and just to kind of line all that up. So 28 goes into 8 0 times. Once I multiply that, I get 0. I subtract, I get 8. I move that 8 up in front of the 2. Now I've got 82. With 82, I can make 2 groups. So 2 times 28 is 56. I subtract, I get 26. I move that 26 up, and now I've got 266. So with that, I could make 9 groups. That equals 252. After I multiply 9 times 28, I subtract, I get 14. I move that 14 up in front of the 4. Now I've got 144. I can make 5 groups with that. Multiply 5 times 28, I get 140. Subtract, I get 4. We move that 4 up in front of the 0. Or actually, I ran out, and when you're doing decimals, you don't have remainders, you just add a 0. And so and I added that 0 because there's no hundredths, so the 4 goes in front, and so now it's 40. So I can make one group, and I multiply that, I get 28, subtract, I get 12, move that 12 up, I had to add another 0, and this, like, when you use a calculator and there's, a billion decimals that just keep going and going and going and going, eventually we have to cut it off. So, and I ran out of space here, and I had plenty of decimals. So I just rounded it off, and I said that I have about 20, I said the amount of juice in each barrel rounded off is 29.514. So once you get to that third into that thousandths place, just go ahead and round it off if your number just keeps going on and on and on forever. And all right, that was Thursday, so that should be it. Let me know if you have any questions, and this will be once we tackle the whole numbers. If this was heavy, don't feel too stressed, because we will definitely be diving into that more a little bit down the line. So this is what's upcoming, but we wanted to just kind of expose it and throw it out there just to kind of get some experience seeing what's coming up. So, but don't be too scared. We'll get through it. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope that helped.